Just how is Caitlin feeling, and how were the evaluations today, and what more can you say about her diagnosis?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just trying to keep her in good spirits. Had a lot of setbacks with all these little injuries, and we just have to take it one day at a time. It's frustrating for her, I'm sure, especially, and I think for us as a staff and as a team, just trying to keep her encouraged and trying to keep her to stay the course.
Hey, Steph, can you give any specifics of, like, did she have imaging today? Was it just see how she's feeling? And I know you have the game tonight first, but is there any discussion yet about this weekend with her? Because obviously she's a huge part of All-Star.
No discussion yet about this weekend. There was imaging done, and obviously ruling her out for tonight, but there hasn't been any discussion beyond tonight.
Well, Howard, then, Annie.
And Steph, just obviously to that point, when it's a re-injury, when you're trying to figure this stuff out within the context of the goals you guys have set over the long term, does the timetable change, where maybe you're having a conversation with doctors, but there's also a sort of a larger understanding of having this happen a second time, a third time, that we have to think about this in terms of September, October as much as anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've approached it that way from a slow pace from the beginning. This might just be my ignorance, but I'm not really sure that it's a re-injury as much as a different kind of injury. I know oftentimes when you're working with injuries in the groin and the quad and the hamstring and all of those things, there's just they're all kind of tied together, and it's not always just one thing. So I think yes, absolutely. The big picture is the most important. For her health and wellness long term, and for our team, and to we've been very slow in making sure that every time she comes back that she's ready. So we'll continue to approach it like that. I mean, long term is the most important.
And just in terms of on the court impact, we talked to Sandy a little bit about the things that you guys have learned with Caitlin out, and watched a lot of film. Unfortunately, a lot of film they're able to see. What have you been able to see and learn about the Liberty playing without John Paul Jones, which is something they've had to do a lot of as well?
Yeah, I think there's just a different emphasis in how they play. The ball moves around the perimeter a little bit more. They have more versatility, so the actions that they run are a little bit different. They have a little bit more versatility on the defensive end of the floor. I always thought they were already a versatile team, on both ends. But playing small ball at times has its advantages, and I think that they've been able to find ways to continue to not just be dangerous, but really lethal, in these small lineups. The way that they're able to spread the floor, the way they're able to create driving lanes and driving kicks for threes. And you see them a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more disruptive in their switches on the defensive end.
Hey, Steph, Annie Constable for Anonymous Sports. I know you said you haven't had a discussion about this weekend, but we obviously know, just based on what she said, how excited she was for this weekend. So what's the balance, or what's the emphasis on long-term health over excitement over this weekend? What conversations have you had regarding that?
We haven't had any yet, honestly. The most important thing for me was just making sure that she was okay. Anybody who's been injured, as most of us have, right? It's being injured and continuing to have setbacks is frustrating. Mentally, emotionally. Oftentimes being injured is isolating. From my standpoint, the primary conversations that we've had last night and today are just checking in. Are you good? How can we help? We're going to continue to stay the course. We've got you. We're supporting you. Caitlin and her team will make decisions when it comes to All-Star. And for me, it's a big deal for us to have All-Star in Indianapolis. And of course, with Caitlin being a focal point of all of that. As the coach of the Indiana Fever, it's not a bigger deal than our long-term season, but it's also part of the fun. Those are conversations that Caitlin will have with her group. I probably won't be a part of those, but we're going to support her no matter what.
And then just quickly, listed as questionable earlier today, what changed regarding going from questionable to?
Just the imaging that she was able to get this afternoon.
Hi, Barbara Barker from Newsday. I just wanted to ask you, you went over very well, just how frustrating, and anyone who saw, the game last night was heartbreaking in a way. I mean, how much is the physicality that she has to face on a nightly basis? This is not a direct result of that, but having to face that all the time, I mean, how hard is that for her to deal with and an injury happens like that?
It is tough. Certainly someone who has the ball in her hands as much as Caitlin, the physicality that she's experiencing for 40 minutes, it causes you to load differently, causes you to explode differently, it causes you to accelerate and decelerate differently. It's not the free-flowing movement, that we want to see when it comes to freedom of movement. And I think all of those things, at times, while it might not be one blow or another, over time can contribute to that. That's why freedom of movement is a huge emphasis from our coach's standpoint when we have conversations at the league level. So can you point it out to one thing or the other? No, but I do think the physicality with which teams are able to play with her is a factor.
Who elects in the front and back to second?
Steph, we've talked a lot about the rotations finally.
Yeah.
Well, we thought they were finally going to be kind of solidified, and then obviously now Caitlin's back out. So just over the last 24 hours, how have you guys as a group tried to just collect yourselves to be like, we've done this before, we can do it again, and what does that kind of look like going against the Liberty team that's really tough?
Yeah, I think our team has confidence in knowing that we have played and we have won without Caitlin on the floor. I think there's a different mentality sometimes where you're not always looking for her to make the play, and the ball moves a little bit differently at times. Everybody, it's not one person that's going to do what Caitlin does. Regardless of making shots or not making shots, she makes everybody else's life easier. And so collectively, we have to be able to continue to put each other in positions to be successful. Certainly now with one guard out of the lineup, especially a primary ball handler, a shot creator, and a shot maker, it's an opportunity for someone else. We had 4 games?
Or
4 games that we were kind of getting back into a little bit of a groove. But this is the nature of sport. It's the nature of professional sport, especially. Everybody on this roster has earned the opportunity to play. Sometimes they don't get to because of the nature of the depth of our roster, and so they'll all be ready.
Second one, wrap
Peter Splendoria with New York Daily News. Just in terms of the imaging, just severity-wise, would you consider it good news, the results today?
You'd have to ask the athletic training staff. I consider it good news, just because, for me, it's anything that we're talking about still day to day is always good news for me. So, but that's a layman's viewpoint.
Hey, Coach. Caitlin was pretty emotional last night, probably the most we've seen so far. Can you speak to her mindset last night and sort of where she's at today?
Obviously, I'm not going to speak for Caitlin, but again, someone who's continued to have setbacks from an injury standpoint, and as a former athlete who's had a lot of surgeries myself, it's very frustrating. You feel like you're trying to do everything that you can to put yourself in position to get past it or to move forward, and when there's a setback, it's emotionally, mentally and emotionally tough. And so, of course, she was upset. I think anybody in that position would be. You see it all throughout the course of history with athletes when they go through injuries, and especially multiple injuries back to back, just when you think you're starting to move the needle. So, I think the most important thing for us is to keep her upbeat, to, again, continue to support her and let her know that we have her back and that we're going to go out, we're going to battle for her.
Well, thank you, Steph. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.